This is Matthew Yuva, candidate number 0620 from Center 163, and today I'd like to do a reflection of my new film, The Demotion. This film is a comedy about a man who has his life turned around when the promotion he is expecting turns into a demotion and he runs into a financial crisis. While trying to get himself out of this crisis, he struggles at first and hates the world for putting him in such a position. But soon he realizes the best part about life is the unexpected, when his new state of crisis leads him to find the woman of his dreams. To answer the question, how does your product use or challenge conventions, and how does it represent social groups or issues? I'd like to say, being that our film was a comedy, it challenges conventions in many ways. The first way has to do with the main character, in that there is only one. Usually comedies have 2 to 4 main characters, each with a different trait that interferes and at the end collaborates with the traits of the others. In our product, we decided to put all of these traits in one man, with him having a little of each. This makes it so the audience never knows what to expect and is always surprised with a joke they thought was going to be given another way in standard conventions. Another convention our product challenges is the lighting. Usually comedies have a bright set, with natural and atmospheric lighting. However, our film tends to stay on the medium/dark side of the lighting spectrum. This is due to the fact that we want to give the audience an idea of the more serious, dark past our character has, which seeps its way into the film in a completely serious way at times, but usually as dark comedy. While comedies usually do have booze for a comedic effect, our use of it in the shower was supposed to show how the main character needs it, having it as a backup in case he ever tastes something bad or needed to cope with life. In terms of representing social groups or issues, we are showing the struggles of employment in our film. While at the end of the day, our film makes a very comedic approach in its presentation, the issue of unemployment and the unstable job market that leads to it are in the roots of our film. In doing this, we also challenge social stereotypes in media that use an office as their main setting, with one prime example being The Office, where the characters only face the threat of being fired and are usually promoted, with one of the arguably more annoying characters even getting a promotion eventually. In our film, the character is demoted at a meeting where he is supposed to get a promotion, showing the job insecurity many face, and the third competition on a free market system where unemployment exists and companies have a wide range of workers to pick from. This is a social issue that is rarely discussed by the majority, even though it's an issue that all will probably face at one time or another in their life, which is another reason that we decided to implement it into our film, since our film could spark needed conversation about this in the real world. To answer the question, how does your product engage with audiences and how would it be distributed as a real media text? Our product engages with audience through its ability to have a comedic effect, while also being relatable to our target audience, young adults. This is due to the fact that many people in their youth are still trying to get a hang of the responsibilities they have, whether it be always having trouble waking up in the morning since alarms just don't work for the person, or just wanting to call it a day without the day even being started, through being cut out to the world through the use of headphones. Everyone can relate to be going through similar things at one point in their life. When someone can relate to something, they are more likely to be interested in that thing, which strongly suggests that our film would at least keep the audience engaged throughout the film. We would distribute our media as a real media text through a media streaming service such as Netflix or Hulu, due to the fact that the film would be filmed on a low budget and access to movie theaters would not seem possible. Distributing it this way would also allow for a direct showing and availability of our film to our target audience, since the majority of users on Netflix and Hulu are young adults. To answer the question, how did your production skills develop throughout the project? My production skills developed throughout the project in the areas of script writing, acting, cinematography, and editing. In terms of script writing and storytelling in general, I started this project with a beginner mindset. While my essay writing skills would be considered above average, they didn't translate into the script writing process the same way I had hoped for. In fact, they worked against it. At the very beginning, my action scenes for the script were too imaginary rather than effective and specific. Towards the end of the script writing process, I had grown more accustomed to incorporating the genre into the script, as well as giving a better foundation and eventually a better schematic on which the film would rely on. In terms of acting, I had only taken one drama class in my life, and it definitely did not help. I had no idea how hard it was to convey emotion in the specific way needed for close-up shots, and my motion was off pace. Eventually, I learned the basics, and I tried to adhere to the script as closely as possible. This was probably my area of least development. However, there was significant development nonetheless. In the terms of cinematography, I had to develop more teamwork, since I had to work with my cinematographer the most as the director of the film, as well as I had to become familiar with the purposes of certain camera actions and angles. At the end of the day, this was successful, with there being major consensus at the end of how scenes were shot, as well as me thoroughly going through textbooks and looking at real-world examples of the connotations of specific camera work. Lastly, my editing skills went from none at all to intermediate. Watching many tutorials on YouTube, I learned the basics of Adobe Premiere CC, and using my creative vision as a director, I was able to work with other members of the group to edit things in a way we would all agree on, and in the best way provided by the program. And lastly, to answer the question, how did you integrate technologies, software, hardware, and online in this project? On the software side, we use Adobe Premiere CC, which was accessible through the use of 3 one-week free trials provided by Adobe. This was used for all of our editing needs and allowed for a wide variety of editing techniques implemented into our film. In terms of hardware, a Microsoft Surface Pro 3 with an Intel Core i5 4300U CPU, 4GB of RAM, and Intel HD integrated graphics was used to edit and go online, while an iPhone 7 in combination with a Zhiyun Smooth Q stabilizer were used to film the clips of the film. In terms of online technology, Apple Music was used for the music, and YouTube was used to post the film opening online for everyone to see, as well as watch tutorials on how to use Adobe and watch informative videos on things like camera angle connotations. WordPress was also used to make a blog, onto which the embedded YouTube video and this podcast was posted.